Let's start with Vara and glutathione. All three of our SAB members have a vast experience and knowledge of the glutathione. And I wanted them each to just take a couple minutes and share their thoughts about glutathione. Alan, let's start with you.
Well, I love talking about glutathione, and as Ryan knows, because I picked Ryan up at the airport one time, and he was in the car with me for an hour and a half, going to a meeting, an hour and a half, coming back to the meeting, and all he heard about was glutathione for 3 hours. And
that was a car plus the ferry.
Yeah,
right? There was no escape.
There was no jumping. He was a couple of times. He was head inside. And the reason I talked about that is it's the most studied nutritional element of the human body. Now, this morning on the slide it said there was 80,000 articles. There's actually 120,000 articles in the repository called PubMed.org, which is where all the researchers put what they're doing for peer review. And there's about 120,000 articles. So just to give you a little perspective, we all learn about vitamin C. That's 4 times more than vitamin C. The interest in glutathione and how to make it available to us as human beings is tremendous because it's the molecule of life. You can't have life without glutathione. And it's been a mystery for years on how we can actually get it into our body in a convenient, usable form to impact our immune system, to impact all of the things that glutathione does in our body. So Cetria is a breakthrough product. There's no question about it. Delivering a therapeutic dose of glutathione when you take it.
Thanks, Alan. And I guess what you're saying is whatever I say, you maybe want to double check for accuracy. That's what you're saying? That's some
We'll check.
That's some sound advice. Dr. Rouse.
Alan just called it the molecule of life. It is the master molecule of life. I've been using glutathione for a good while, but most glutathione on the world market, not worth anything, not worth a hoot because it's not absorbable or usable. But Kiowa, Japanese nutritional research, Kiowa out of Japan, came up with the perfect form from a vegetable form of glutathione that was 100% totally absorbable and usable by the human body. So I couldn't wait to get my hands on it because in the clinical research that Kiowa had done, they had taken some women and men aged 62 to 105, that was the age group. And all of those in that group that were very healthy, blood pressure healthy, cholesterol healthy, liver enzymes healthy, they all had high levels of glutathione. So that told them, wow, this has got to be something connected here. And then they said, where's your children? They looked at them. They were back here at age 60 and below, like the 105-year-old had some 60-year-old kids. And the ones that were debilitated, degenerated, they'd already had heart problems and cholesterol problems and liver problems. They had low glutathione levels. So there was a correlation. They said, well, let's carry this a little bit further. So they took some women in a group from age 50 to about 70. And when they looked at the women, they called them out by, this one looks young, this one looks like she's been ridden hard. And when they compared the two groups, every one of them that were fresh, the ladies from 50 to 75 had high glutathione levels. And all of them over here that were beat up, low glutathione levels. So I said, man, I need me some of that every single day. And so it wasn't just any glutathione. It was Cetria or Cetria, S-E-T-R-I-A. And that's the only one that we put in our product. And we had to put it in there at the right milligrams in order to meet all of the clinical studies that they did on these women that look good. We've got the right milligram in our product.
Thanks, Dr. Rouse. Dr. Rallis, tell us your thoughts.
You didn't use that analogy last time. It's awesome. I'm just going to sort of dovetail on what Alan and Charlie said. Do we know what glutathione is used for? Any ideas? Because we're sort of ranting and raving when last time we actually hijacked Ryan's kind of agenda because we just started going off on glutathione. But what would glutathione be used for? Any thoughts? Any ideas? We said it was a master molecule or the molecule of life, etc. Immune system. So in clinical, I'll just kind of share a couple clinical stories. So in clinical practice, you would typically use glutathione if a patient is not responding to a pulmonary condition. So I'll give you an example. I use this on patients, but I'll share my son. I don't know if you've seen, my wife and my 2 little boys are here. And they have had, knock on wood, great health up till now, 13 and 10. But my youngest, who's constitutionally very strong, came down with a pulmonary infection. And we were treating a lot of pulmonary infections in the clinic this past year in just north of Toronto. And partly because of the winter was harsh, who knows. So at day 3, a pulmonary condition is meant to sort of manifest in a certain way, and if it doesn't, then certain red flags begin to emerge. And you have to then, the level of seriousness or severity sort of it ratchets up a notch. And our first line therapy when the patient shows those red flags is to use glutathione. For someone Marcus's size, we used 1.5 cc's. He puts it into the pulmonary tract via a nebulizer, so it's a nebulized glutathione. For severe cases, we will use intravenous, sometimes intramuscular, but typically intravenous if the nebulized form is not working. And we gave him the treatment that day. The next morning, he was given another dose, and 48 hours after that, he was completely fine. What is huge is the fact that, it's part of the standard for all pulmonary conditions, whether there are certain cancers, pulmonary cancers, certain liver cancers, it's used, thyroid, learning differences. The list of applications for glutathione is huge. For years we've used, it's classified as a drug, so we have to get it from a compounding pharmacy. Because up till now, you haven't been able to ingest an oral glutathione that changed, that the body was able to use at all. So you would take in the glutathione, and these other forms that Charlie alluded to had no clinical application. It was just a waste. And these studies that both Alan and Charlie are referencing are new. This product that we have is new. And not only did it raise glutathione levels in the pulmonary tract, but in the gastrointestinal tract, in the white blood cells, all white blood cells. That means all of your immune system. In the red blood cells, in the nervous system tissue, so from an oral dose. In terms of clinical medicine, as it applies to a general patient population, that's a game changer. I mean, it's a game changer. Never mind if you couple it with antioxidants that are found in Vara.
Good.
And the collagen, which we're going to sort of talk about in just a little bit. But I mean, it truly is. It's amazing what we were able to do with that. So I mean, we're all blown away, and we do have Ryan to thank, but Alan for sequestering Ryan into his buggy for 3 hours.
It was the boat.
It was the boat. Thanks for those comments, Dr. Ross. Very profound. I mean, this is just profound, just amazing information that we're hearing. You know, and I said this last time. The more I listen to these guys, the more I realize that I don't think we really understand what we have by including a therapeutic grade and a trademarked Cetria version of this that is backed by studies and does have 120,000 studies, okay? Is that